There are crimes you hear about, and then there are the ones you were never meant to. This is Unheard Evidence, where silence isn't the end of the story, it is a beginning. Willow Creek, Oregon, doesn't make headlines. It's the kind of place where the Yibik still features grainy Polaroids, the diner still serves pie with real whipped cream, and if someone drives a little too fast down Main Street, they're the talk of the town for a week. Population, 2,412. One high school, one church, and a single blinking red light that everyone pretends is a real traffic system. It's the kind of town where you don't just know your neighbor, you know their dog, their cousin, and what kind of pie they bring to the church bake sale. And maybe that's why, when Eli and Marlene Winters were found dead in their farmhouse on October 21st, 2010, the town didn't just grieve. It fractured. The local paper, the Willow Creek Ledger, dedicated its front page to the couple for 3 straight weeks. Not because they were celebrities, because they were fixtures. They were ours. Eli, the soft-spoken machinist and Vietnam vet who ran the local repair shop. Marlene, the retired elementary school teacher who still hosted math tutoring sessions at her kitchen table. They weren't flashy. They were the heartbeat. But behind their familiar smiles and community bake sale photos, something darker were happening. The timeline, as best stitched together from 911 logs, neighbor statements, and sealed court documents, looks like this. 11:05 p.m., Marlene's daughter, Catherine, sends a voicemail. Night, Mom. Love you. It's never heard. 11:22 p.m., neighbors Mark and Heidi Lang hear the Winters dog, Cleo, barking furiously. Like someone was inside, Mark later tells investigators. 11:30 p.m., a faint trace of classical music cuts through the night, then stops abruptly. 11:47 p.m., a 911 call is placed. Caller ID blocked. No audio. No logs. 11:56 p.m., Mark and Heidi placed the official 911 call after finding the bodies. By the time authorities arrived, the Winters home was already cold. The living room looked like a war zone. Furniture overturned. Blood smeared on the hallway walls. Yet no signs of forced entry. No windows broken. The back door was unlocked, but unjammed. The dog was found alive, locked in the pantry. Jewelry untouched. Electronics still in place. Nothing stolen. Someone had walked into that home, committed 2 brutal murders with blunt force trauma, and left, without leaving a single useful fingerprint behind. And whoever it was, they were let in. The victims: Eli Winters, age 62, Vietnam veteran, owner of a local machine shop. Quiet, deeply respected, but not without rumors. He'd reportedly taken out overlapping life insurance policies on himself and Marlene just 8 months before the murders. Marlene Winters, age 60, retired teacher, kind, spiritual, adored by generations of students, loved oil painting and Brahms. She'd been tutoring 2 kids from the community that fall. One of them had recently stopped coming. No explanation. Locals said they were as solid as they come. But beneath the surface, there were cracks. For 9 years, the town accepted a version of events. That a drifter named Tyler Russ, picked up outside town a week later, was the prime suspect. That the call log showed number 911 call was made from the Winters home. That the murders were tragic, but solved. Except the 11:47 call existed. Journalist Camille Morris, formerly a corruption reporter in Chicago, moved back to Oregon in 2018. She had family nearby and burnout from years of dead-end cases. But Willow Creek wasn't quiet for long. An anonymous letter slid under her door one December night changed everything. Check the logs. 11:47 p.m. October 21st, 2010. The call was real. They buried it. Don't let them bury her too. That's how the real story begins. Camille filed a FOIA request with the Willow Creek PD. The response? No such recording exists. So she pushed, and after 8 months, she received an unmarked USB drive. On it was a single audio file. Incoming _UNK_23-1010.wav. The file contained 28 seconds of garbled terror. A click. Static. Female voice whispering, "They are here. They got in." Thump. Distant dragging sound. Voice again. choking. "If anyone hears this, it wasn't an accident." Click. Silence. No timestamp. No metadata. No file ID. But the voice wasn't Marlene's, at least not clearly, and the fear in it didn't sound rehearsed. It sounded real. Camille had the clip analyzed by 2 former dispatchers. They confirmed it matched police radio signature formats. One even recognized a faint background hum. It belonged to the same model of dispatcher hardware Willow Creek used in 2010. But there was still no record of the call. People who knew too much. Dispatcher Kenneth Doyle, on duty the night of the murders, resigned 6 weeks later. Moved out of state. No forwarding address. Detective Lacey Muir quietly left the department in 2015. Now works private security in Portland. When Camille interviewed her, she said, "We were told to treat anonymous tips as noise, even when they weren't." Tamara Vance, former caregiver to an elderly neighbor of the Winters, fired suddenly 2 weeks before the murders, had a brother who briefly worked in the dispatch center. His personnel file? Missing. Camille found that even the department's audit logs had blank spaces. Not gaps, holes. Like someone went in and erased very specific lines of digital memory. Weeks after Camille released a teaser blog about the tape, her laptop was wiped, encrypted, destroyed. She had backups, but she also had fear. Her final post before disappearing from public view read, "It wasn't just a call. It was the beginning. If anything happens to me, the rest is in the backup. Follow the tower. They used the wrong name." Then, nothing. In 2022, Camille resurfaced briefly, emailing 3 reporters with one line. The Elk Ridge Tower wasn't broadcasting static that night. It was listening. What does that mean? Tamara Vance's car was found near Elk Ridge. Dispatcher Doyle once had a ham radio license registered near that same fire tower. And in Camille's own handwritten notes, scanned and leaked earlier this year, she wrote, she wasn't calling for help. She was leaving a message. For someone she knew would find it. You don't just lose a call. You lose what it tried to warn you. The skin-tall pines around Elk Ridge stand like silent sentinels, dark, repetitive, and unyielding. A fire locate tower anchors a forest, derelict, rusted chains swinging in the wind. Once, towers like this kept the wilderness safe. Tonight, it held the clues others refused to acknowledge. Camille had found the location through a scrambled note in the Winters case files. Follow the tower. He broadcast last night. No name, no address, just a riddle. Driving out there felt wrong, like stepping into someone's dream. Her headlights cut through the fog as a skeletal tower appeared ahead, the antenna leaning like a crucifix. Inside the shack at the tower's base, scattered papers yellow with age hinted at unused radio frequencies. A solitary, outdated receiver sat unplugged. But when Camille held incoming _UN _31010.wv next to the recording, she made a home. The same background hum, that faint, low tone, was there. She replayed the clip on an old ham radio receiver. There it was again. Distorted static, faint hum. A woman gasped happy smiley. They got in. It wasn't an accident. The tone matched the exact frequency the tower once broadcasted. But the logs? Empty. No record. It was as if the call was beamed into the air and then erased before history could hear it. Doyle. The name followed her like a shadow. On paper. Dispatcher Kenneth Doyle resigned 6 weeks after the murders. But in the personnel log from 2010, he was listed as Daniels K. It wasn't a typo. It looked deliberately altered. Camille cross-referenced old personnel IDs and discovered something chilling. Doyle K. Daniels appeared in one obsolete document, but disappeared entirely from the payroll. No exit interview. No formal resignation. An erasure. Camille brought this to Detective Lacey Muir at a diner off Interstate 5. Muir stared at her like she cracked the code. They stripped his badge and his name. Looked like someone wanted him vaporized from the system. Camille discovered that Tamara Vance's brother, fired without explanation, worked at the dispatch center and held a technician's key. He suddenly left in 2010. An unnamed local ham radio enthusiast confirmed that the Elk Ridge Tower had been reprogrammed to broadcast through equipment he controlled. That meant someone could broadcast a call from the tower and ensure the dispatch system never logged it. Was the name error, Doyle turned Daniels, a cover-up or misdirection? Camille thinks it was both. Doyle probably tried to reclassify the call, she tells a fellow journalist. Because if that file had gone through normal channels, someone would have heard her scream. There's one more secret buried in Camille's notes, one identity she's protecting. She wrote it dozens of times, in various drafts. Not Marlene. Someone's voice, intentionally distorted. A confession, an accusation. Who was calling at 11:47 p.m. that night? And more importantly, who did she say it wasn't an accident to? In the silence between whispers, someone turned the dial, and in that static, the truth tried to scream through. What comes next? The murders of Eli and Marlene Winters weren't random. They weren't a robbery. And now, with a missing dispatcher, a destroyed call log, and a voice lost in static, Willow Creek has more questions than answers. Who was the caller? Why did the PD redact their own audit trail? And why, for 12 years, did no one mention the most terrifying voice in the case? One thing is clear. If this is what they erased, what else did they never let us hear? Subscribe to Unheard Evidence, share, and hit the thumbnail to stay tuned.